And we are live. And good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'm hosting these live streams on behalf of Fastline Solutions. And today's topic is harnessing the power of cloud technology for your business. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please make sure you introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're watching us from. Yep, so make sure you introduce yourself. It's, we are here, halfly in Melbourne, halfly in Sydney, so halfly in isolation, halfly not. So make sure you introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're watching us from. So tonight we are going to discuss what is cloud technology and what's all this hype about the cloud technology. And most importantly, what can it actually do for you, your team, and your business? So we're gonna explore the cloud business drivers, especially for the Google Cloud tonight. And hopefully by the end of this discussion, you will gain the knowledge and skills to determine if cloud business transformation is actually right for you and your team. And how can you develop short and long-term projects using the superpowers of cloud technology? So I guess we can all agree that it's a particularly relevant topic now in the COVID normal. Then so many businesses actually moving online. So make sure you tag your connections who need to hear this and share this video with those who need to hear this information. So we will start with brief presentations from our speakers tonight and move to Q&A. But please make sure you ask your questions in the comments. We want this discussion to be extremely interactive. So you have a question, you can pop it in the comments at any time during this presentation. So, and just make sure you stay on the topic as well. So your topic today is harnessing the power of cloud technology for your business. Yeah, cloud technology, not any other technology. So we are streaming tonight on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So you can post your questions in any of those platforms. So make sure to get involved, challenge our speakers, maybe not too much, but still challenge. And make sure you stay till the end because we also have a giveaway for the most active participants. And please, if you like the information, if you like the presentations, make sure you hit this like button and subscribe to our YouTube channels because it encourages us to keep going it and to bring various experts from the industry to share their knowledge with us. So before we dive into presentations and discussions, I pass it on to our speakers to introduce themselves. And we'll start with Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana, for that great introduction. And hi, everyone, tonight live streaming through this event. Great to meet you all. I'm Karen, and I've been at Google for just over 4 years. Currently, I am the field sales lead for telecommunication, media, and gaming organizations across Australia and New Zealand, and really looking forward to sharing what we're currently doing within Google Cloud with you tonight.
Hi, I'm Rashid Karbanda. I'm from Fastline. I'm a general manager here. I'm just here to talk more generically about a few cloud providers, and and yes, we're more specific into Google at the moment, and we'll have that discussion shortly. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Torso. I'm the founder and managing director of Wholesale Investor and Crisp. We provide a platform which connects high net worth investors with emerging growth companies, and we provide an end-to-end solution for that process.
Thank you, guys. And I'm Jana Martins, and I'm harnessing the power of cloud technology right now because we actually recording this stream on the cloud as we're talking. So here we go. It's a power of cloud technology in action. So before I pass it on to Rashu to go through his presentation for tonight, I want to ask you guys, so is your business new to cloud technology? Yeah, how familiar are you with cloud technology? I even have a picture here. Are you one of those? Are you going to send your data to the cloud like this? Or you might know quite a few already, and maybe you've been using cloud for your business. So please put in the comments, let us know. It will help us to target our today's presentation for you as well and to give you more answers. So make sure you pop your answers in the comments. And Rashu, so please give us a bit of an overview on the cloud providers in the industry and the main difference between them.
Sure. So yeah. to bring up my slide. So if you go to the Gartner quadrant, I think okay. So look, Gartner has obviously got a quadrant for all things, and they have looked at the top cloud providers. And the top cloud providers are obviously AWS, Google, as well as Azure. So they are in the top right-hand quadrant. That means they have the completeness of vision and they have the ability to execute. That's not to say that the other providers aren't there, but these are the top three as per Gartner. And it's interesting because AWS was there, the first mover, so they came in first. The others have really caught up afterwards. So, it's interesting to see how Google has made so many leaps and strides. And given that Karen's here in the presentation, I thought I might just ask her at this point in time and say, Karen, how have Google done this? How have they come in this top right-hand quadrant of Gartner?
Yeah, thanks, Rashi, for bringing me in. A great question. And essentially, we went to the market at the earliest time. We weren't in the market about a decade ago when it came to Google Cloud, but where we've really shown our differentiation is in the spaces of hybrid and multi-cloud. We have a really strong narrative in that space, and especially around data and machine learning. That essentially is in our DNA and really sets us apart from all the other platforms. And in terms of the vision of where Google Cloud is going, currently we have 73 zones, over 144 points of presence across more than 50 countries worldwide. So we're constantly investing into our own infrastructure, expanding our network, our subsea cables. And actually our CEO, Thomas Kurian, announced last year that we were embarking on a $20 billion 5-year investment plan. So massive investment globally on our infrastructure and network, as you can see. And the biggest thing is we're actually tripling our sales and engineering teams. So massively, investing in our people, investing in our teams locally. And I can just share my personal experience being at Google for over 4 years now. When I joined, there was probably 40 people for Australia and New Zealand, which was then G Suite, now Workspace. And now we have, just shy of 400 people. So it's 10x over the last kind of few years. And that's really happened over the last year or two. So it's really exciting to see that growth and that presence in the market. And just the feedback from our customers has been really exciting to hear as well.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So if you go back to the other slide then, where we had the list of the cloud providers. Yeah, so look, as we discussed, right? So AWS had the first mover advantage. It's probably the most popular at the moment. Azure is very strong due to the Microsoft Office suite. Now, whether you're using OneDrive or Teams, they're all linked into Azure. So you automatically end up getting Azure. So Google platform, we spoke about a little bit. It had the strongest growth rate, very strong analytics and machine learning, and even strong on latency as well. So I might just touch on a couple of those things before I pass on to Karen further down this track. Also probably want to mention that, look, Alibaba also has a cloud offering, cloud provider, and because they're very popular in China. And the last one being IBM as well. So it's, you got to note it because, again, IBM, like Microsoft, has a few of its own products, and they're also a SaaS offering. So anyway, just as a generic overview. So when we go on to the next slide. So what I want to highlight is that, look, there is an interesting thing about customizing and pricing, and not all the top three cloud providers are the same. They're definitely not the same. So for example, if you look at the lowest offering of saying, look, give me just one virtual machine, which has a couple of CPUs and a bit of RAM. And if you looked at that lowest level offering, which is the same in all three, it comes out to be that Google is 25% cheaper, whereas AWS and Azure are similar priced. So that is interesting in itself. And when you want to go to the highest end, they are slightly different priced. But at the highest end, if you wanted the maximum number of CPUs, Google can offer that. So the customizing bit is interesting. Not everyone offers so much customizing. They say this is what you get, but some provide more than others. And I thought I'd just highlight that just to say that not all providers are the same. They are different, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about the latency. And look, the reason I want to talk about latency is because it's kind of very important. And I'm sure everyone understands this, but latency is how long packets take to go between machines. And the faster latency, the lesser problems you're going to see in your actual application performance. And it becomes quite important when you have data centers in different areas. You're talking to, whether they're machines in one data center or across data centers. And GCP had the best one. And I didn't put the numbers up there, but AWS, I think 20 to 25 per second, whereas GCP had the highest one. Azure was even lower. So again, these are studies done. I haven't done them personally. I mean, this is... So you can all, refer to the reference sites I've got there. and you can check them out. So they're all publicly available. But it is interesting to know that latency is quite good as well. So it's interesting. But yes, AWS was the most consistent. So that's the other side of the thing, right? But they have a slightly lower one. So anyway, that's on these things. I'll probably pass on at this point in time to Karen to talk more about Google, because tonight we're focusing a little bit more on Google, given Karen's here. So I'll hand over to Google and Karen.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rashu.
Thank you, Rashu. And guys, who's still in the line, if you have any questions, particularly to Rashu, make sure, as I said, pop it in the comments. And also, while Karen will take us through some few points about the Google Cloud, I want to actually ask you, what's your biggest objection when it comes to moving your data to a cloud? Because, it might sometimes feel doubting for someone, or maybe, maybe your old data already in the cloud. So please let us know in the comments, and I'll pass it on to Karen for her presentation.
Amazing. Thank you, Yana. Thanks, Rashu. And Yana, if you can just pop up the slides as well that I've just shared. Perfect. Thank you. So having worked with a wide range of traditional enterprises, corporates, and digital natives myself, I'm consistently hearing the same 5 core things with all the people that I'm speaking to. That one, businesses are trying to reduce infrastructure costs. They want to have certainty and reliability and scalability in their platform. They want to better sweat their data assets, drive more value and insights from their data. They want to use more fully managed services to help increase their team's capacity to focus on improving their product or service offering and not spending time simply, keeping the lights on. They want to leverage the best-in-class technologies and build across open source products, ensuring that they're making the most of an ever-growing IT ecosystem. And lastly, with everything that's happened this year, with COVID and everyone working from home, businesses, big and small, are having to transform the way that they work. And now more than ever, employees are having to collaborate and be enabled from home and remotely. So security is at the forefront of every business, and enabling their staff and their teams to work and collaborate remotely is a really big priority that we're seeing. Now, to be completely frank, this might sound a little crazy, I know, but Google is actually not all that different to you and your business. Now, as a business, we ask ourselves the same questions on a daily basis of how to ensure the best customer experience across our consumer-facing products like search, maps, and YouTube. In fact, all of those 9 products that you see, which each individually have over 1 billion monthly active users, is supported by our very own infrastructure and network. Google Cloud may only have launched our first region in Australia and New Zealand in 2017. However, we've been relying on our infrastructure for over 2 decades. Now, our mission at Google is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Now, this at the core simply translates to Google helping our customers to get things done within their business. Every company in every industry is going through a fundamental digital transformation, and our goal is to help accelerate that transformation with you. Now, when partnering with Google Cloud, you're entrusting your business on a technology bedrock that's highly available, scalable, and secure. Now, at Google Cloud, we believe in no lock-ins and the pay-as-you-go method, which Rashu touched on, providing per-second pricing and automatically applied sustained use discounts. So essentially, the more that you use a platform, the more discount and benefit you will automatically see come through. We support a strong open source ecosystem for collaboration and continue to develop our very own cutting-edge market-leading open source technology, the likes of TensorFlow and Kubernetes. Now, a recent Forrester Wave report named Google as a leader among data security vendors, and we are doing this through bringing you end-to-end security with custom-built layers from infrastructure to endpoints derived from our very own experience of protecting the billions of customers that use our services. Our privately managed network infrastructure is one of the largest in the world, ensuring your information and applications are protected from inherent risks. In addition, only Google offers encryption at rest across all platform services by default, serving best-in-class security. Now, as mentioned earlier, when Rashu was sharing the Gartner quadrant, I mentioned that currently we have 73 zones, over 144 points of presence across more than 50 countries worldwide. And as you can see from this roadmap, we're constantly investing in our own infrastructure and expanding our network. Now, we actually recently just launched this year our Las Vegas and Jakarta regions. So no, COVID 2020 will not stop us this year. And we've actually just announced as well that our Melbourne region will be going live in early 2021. So we'll have our second region in Australia, which is pretty exciting to see. And you can see on the roadmap, there's lots more regions, lots more locations coming, and be expecting more to come. So at Google Cloud, we do our part to help protect your most sensitive content and data by offering comprehensive data protection, identity management, network security, and threat detection and response capabilities. We certify our products against the most rigorous global security and privacy standards, which you can see listed. And within the Australia-New Zealand region, we are Australian Privacy Principles, APRA, and IRAP compliant. So you can see a full list of all the certifications and accreditations that we have. And this will be circulated following the session, I believe, Jana. And also, our products are regularly undergoing independent verification of security, privacy, and compliance controls, achieving certifications against global standards to meet and exceed our ever-growing requirements from our customers. Now, some other cloud providers offer virtual machines in certain fixed combinations of CPU and memory, but applications vary a lot, as we know. So you often end up buying more CPU or more memory than you need to because you have to round up to the next largest VM. Now at Google Cloud, we actually have something called custom machine types so that you can pick the exact amount of memory and CPU that your application needs and nothing extra. So there is no waste or overutilization. Also through our sustained use discounts, the longer that you leave your virtual machine running, the bigger the discount we apply. So you can't do anything to accidentally forget to get a discount. It's just automatically there. And on average, we see our customers save roughly 21% off the list price through intuitive automatic discounting methods like this. But what's even more magical is that we can actually see how much memory and CPU you're actually using. And then we proactively tell you which VMs can be resized to save money. That's us using our data and machine learning principles to provide our customers predictive insights. Now, it's also worth noting that we've eliminated all our carbon emissions since we were founded in 1992. A pretty cool statement, right? And first for a company of our size. And we've matched 100% of our electricity consumption with renewable energy purchases since 2017. And we actually recently committed to fully decarbonizing our electricity supply by 2030 and to purely operate on clean energy. Now, enterprises around the world have chosen to work with Google because of our culture of innovation. And we can help you build this culture of innovation into your own organization. Google Cloud brings the best of Google's innovation to enable businesses to create new user experiences and transform their operations. Whether it's taking advantage of native integrations like BigQuery and Google Sheets, or leveraging Google innovations across our entire product portfolio, including Google Assistant, YouTube, apps, ads, search, maps, voice, you name it. We've got a whole stack of products and services. Businesses essentially in every industry are innovating through Google technologies, and we're embedding every single piece within Google Cloud. So that's my part, Jana. I wanted to keep it quite high level for the audience because I know that there's quite a lot of Q&A and questions coming through. So I know that we're, I think, bringing up Steve as well. So hopefully that gave a good kind of overview of where we're currently at within Google Cloud.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for your overview. I think Eugene actually have a question for you before we pass it on to Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Jana. Actually, I forgot to introduce myself as well. I'm business development partner at Fastlane Solutions, and basically it has a little bit of work for us to assemble such a nice company tonight. And yeah, I have a very, on one hand, generalized question, on the other hand, which is something what might be interesting for our audience who are already embarked on some cloud journey. So Karen, I know that Google is pretty much preaching the multi-cloud strategy in its relationship with environments which are already there on customer side. Can you unwrap a little bit how does it work for the business? For instance, if I'm already doing something with Azure or AWS, how can I sort of try things with GCP in that instance?
Yeah. So definitely the multi-cloud, hybrid cloud narrative is really, really strong within Google. So you might have heard of some of our open source offerings like Kubernetes. So we believe in open source, and that technology that was created within Google, which is now open source, that's actually been transformed now in EKS in the form of AWS, as AKS in Azure. So all of these different environments actually embody and use Kubernetes containerized technologies. And what we actually announced last year was a service called Anthos. So that was released, and essentially that is a single pane of glass that allows you to manage infrastructure across public cloud, private cloud, on-premise bare metal environments. So no matter if you have an existing on-premise footprint, you have some bare metal, you're using different public cloud or private cloud, there are ways and methods to actually have a single view of all of those services. And that's actually through our Anthos technology. But in the sense of multi-cloud, we're seeing more and more that, people are adopting the best of breed. So they might use infrastructure with one cloud provider, they might have security networking with another, and they might have the data warehouse and machine learning capabilities with another. So it's allowing this ability to be able to pick and choose which services to use from each. And from a Google Cloud standpoint, we're very open to multi-cloud and hybrid cloud.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of clients, they would like to avoid lock-in or some constraints on their side, so they can try a variety of scenarios with that approach of Google. Especially the Kubernetes example is a great one. Thanks for that. Jana, your turn probably to manage that crowd. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, and everyone who's listening to us tonight. Please make sure, again, if you have any questions, if you have any further questions to Karen or to Rashu, just put it in the comments, and we're happy to answer any challenging questions from you guys. And while you're thinking about your tricky questions, I'm actually gonna pass it to Steve now to go through his few slides. Please, Steve.
Thanks, Jana. Just setting up now. So basically the area I'm going to talk about is, I suppose, a real life application for us of how basically using the cloud really helped us from a business perspective, and I'll take it through it. So we work in a traditional area, which is capital raising. Now, whilst typically when you think of capital raising, you typically think of investment banks and you also think of venture capital. And what's interesting is that as much as the area that we work in fuels the investment into technology, it's actually a lot of the way it works is actually quite outdated. So to give you a high level, and this is from our perspective, we've worked with over 1,500 companies that have been in the capital raising process, and we work with obviously a lot of investors. When we're working with companies, typically they want access to investors. They also want to be able to save time. They also want to streamline and standardize their processes. And also they want a speed to a decision from an investor. When we're working with investors, they also want to increase their opportunity access. They want to make sure that opportunities that go to them are relevant. They also want to streamline their processes, and they also want to make a decision quickly. Now, what's interesting is that if you look at the way capital raising is done, this second point here is capital raising is actually still very much a bit of a dark art, and it's often centralized around personal networks. And the way in which the industry actually charges is via a success fee and a transaction fee, and it typically sits at that sort of 6 to 8%. Now, what most people are surprised is that the industry really hasn't accelerated that much, and it's sort of that 1.0, the only difference is they typically use email and Excel spreadsheets for their transactions. The 2.0 aspect that we sort of look at is that websites started using platforms to do this, but they were trying to charge like advisors in the process. So for me, when we've looked at it from an industry perspective, cloud has so much power, but the problem is most people are still thinking of it as a transactional aspect. So when we look at the challenges that most are facing, I'm sure most people have these challenges in their industry, is that effectively they've got a fragmented ecosystem. Most are working on manual processes. They've got different isolated solutions. There's a lack of investor connectivity, and there's typically no analytics in the process at all. So what that means is effectively there's a lot of time and money that's wasted in the actual process. So the way we look at cloud, we look at platforms, we look at marketplaces, is that it provides us and it provides companies with an opportunity for, one, a different revenue stream, which I think is really important. But more than that, it allows to provide a focus on the client, which means that effectively a payment model which is more suited to them. It allows to utilize machine learning and AI for matchmaking, which is super important because, as I said, at the moment it's just reliant on personal networks, frictionless engagement, but more than that, it provides them with an opportunity to actually utilize more tools and also to create more opportunities. So for us, the way we've seen COVID is that it's actually accelerated trends. For me, my personal business, we are a platform, but we also have an offline component as well where we actually host live events. So if I look at our specific situation, when we had to tell our entire team to go home on March 17th, Literally the most difficult thing for us was actually redirecting the phone number. We do use Google. We actually do use Google Workplace, which is fantastic. Workspace, sorry, which is fantastic. We got rid of Slack and started using Google Chat instead because it sort of dulled down the noise that was taking place. And from instead of running offline events, we actually took our online events onto YouTube so that we could actually streamline the entire process for our clients. But really, now what's exciting about our ecosystem is now everyone has to operate online. For the first time, we're seeing investment bankers running virtual IPO roadshows. They're doing the entire process online. VCs are having to make decisions, investment decisions, without ever meeting the founders, and they have been doing that. And the entire industry is being forced online as well. So to me, when I think about what the cloud facilitates is, from an opportunity perspective, is how you can create an end-to-end solution for the company that for clients, it's actually much more empowered and also gets a faster result for the client. And then from a tools perspective, what we can actually provide clients with our software is effectively access to, let's call it, tools that investment bankers would use via humans. We can actually do that online and do that digitally. And that's what excites us. But being able to, the one that we're most excited about is effectively the using machine learning for the investor matchmaking component. So what that also has allowed for us in basically utilizing the services is that we can actually gain insights into investors which most people don't have. In this example here, you can see that for my business, you can know within 5 seconds what's most important to investors when they're looking at investing into my opportunity. Most companies have no insight over this whatsoever. And then to understand what an investor is thinking, I know what questions an investor is going to ask before they even ask it. This also is not currently available to most, if you're not in without being sort of in a cloud environment. And then the last part is that we can now start to create benchmarks and understand the correlation between engagement and then the traction of success. So in this example, my top 13 out of 13 people in my deal room, 12 have become shareholders, and we've actually been able to track that. So it's been able to predict. So effectively, for what that means for companies, you can start to benchmark, and also you can be able to provide, let's call it, predictions on what activities are about to take place. So in summary, I think the real opportunity for companies in utilizing cloud is that effectively you're allowed to enable efficient transactions. You're able to increase the opportunities that you're either working on or that your clients are working on. And most importantly, it creates new business models for that ecosystem as well. That's my details if anyone would like to add me on LinkedIn or so forth.
We'll share
We've lost Jana.
Now I'm here.
Just for a while. Yeah.
We'll share your details in the comments, Steve. And we actually have a question for you, I think, Steve, that just come from Healy. Capital raises are always for professional and sophisticated investors. Would be good if cloud computing could connect retail shareholders for the publicly listed companies when they raise capital. What do you think?
So I actually agree with you. So like if you would have seen in one of the things I talked about book builds, right? So that's typically an area. So for us, that's an area that we look at. Whereas as far as dealing with retail investors, that's more of a regulatory issue, not so much a cloud computing issue. I think the interesting thing with your question is more about, I think there's an opportunity for new business models where more money is going to the company and less to advisors because it's been facilitated by an online solution. So, yes, there is that opportunity for retail, but that's more of a regulatory aspect. But the reality is most of the investment banks or even the broking firms, they are literally doing this stuff on Excel spreadsheets, which astonishes me.
Thank you, Steve. Guys, if you're still with us, make sure you can actually ask questions not only about the cloud. You can ask Steve a few more questions about investing if you want. And Steve, do you actually have any questions to Karen?
Well, of course I have questions for Karen, because we were looking, and what I would love to understand, because one of the challenges is obviously as a sort of startup, you need, how can I put it? often you're building projects and so forth. And what I'd love to understand is what sort of incentives does sort of Google offer for, let's say, earlier stage companies in working with you? And what do those parameters look like?
That's a really great question, Steve. And I can share definitely through my experience working a lot with startups and digital natives within my portfolio. I've actually supported quite a few startups going through our Google Cloud for Startups program. So that's probably the first thing that I would touch on, is that we do actually have a formal startup team and startup program. So if you are, say, funded by a VC, or you've got early funding and you're looking to get some Google Cloud credits, so it could be anywhere between the vicinity of $5,000 to $100,000 worth of credits, there is actually a structured program that you can apply for to see it and actually receive those credits. So that's a really big starting point in terms of commercially being able to support startups out there. There is a website that we can share with you after the session, but definitely I would say apply or reach out to someone within the Google team. And that would be my second point, is that we do have dedicated account teams. So like myself, dedicated individuals to support the startup. So whether that's through providing technical enablement, whether that's through troubleshooting certain solutions or reference architecture that you're trying to build out, we do have engineering teams locally on the ground that can come in and work with your development and engineering teams to build out your solution, to make sure that if you're using Google Cloud, that the solution is viable, that it's functional, that it's most importantly scalable for a startup, right?
Yeah.
So and also optimizing for cost, making sure that you have those foundations, security, IAM, all those things in place as a foundation before you're even embarking on your cloud journey. So lots of ways that we can help out. But I'd say the best way to kind of get in touch would be to reach out to the Fastlane team, and then they could connect you with someone within the Google team. So, but yes, lots of help on the ground for startups and businesses.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Talking about the Fastlane team, does the Fastlane team have any questions to Karen?
Yeah, actually, I have one question, if I may. I think so. We kind of touched the base around what is the technical support and incentive support. And I know from our experience of working with Google and Karen personally that definitely Google supports the go-to-market and co-selling efforts of those early stage businesses or startups. Probably it's not specifically Karen's part of the deal out there, but maybe Karen, you can give us a little bit of overview, because I think this entire ecosystem of Google suite and products is a strong baseline for young businesses, to leverage for their purpose.
Definitely, and we're seeing a lot of symbiotic relationships with the customers that we work with. So in the case of a lot of digital natives, a lot of our customers, they do also have services that are, say, SaaS platforms. So they already have an offering that could come into a place like the Google Cloud Marketplace. So actually have their services and their offering available to our community to use through API or through their own invoice console, through the Google Cloud console. So definitely there are opportunities to look at and evaluate, seeing if your solution, your product offering in the market has a place and has the right fit to be onboarded into our marketplace. Again, you are correct, Eugene. I'm not the best contact for that technology partnership conversation, but we do have dedicated leads who look after the program, the benefits, how to actually onboard, and what are the requirements to become a technology partner.
Yeah, absolutely, fantastic. Thanks for that. I think just to put it keep it stupid simple, like they say. Even if you go to G Suite stack of solutions of Google, you can if you're a young startup or business writing some applications, you can sort of leverage some of those marketplaces tiers out there and pretty much already being more visible, more present online with your solutions. And it's incredibly simple when you have already the technical side of things sorted out in a way that Karen described. Rasha, I think you were about to
Can I
say something as well, mate?
Yeah. No, I was wanting to ask a question, because we've spoken a lot about small businesses. I wanted to go back to the medium and bigger businesses and just ask a question around Google. So it'd be lovely, Karen, because I understand a lot about analytics and how it's done in AWS and a little bit in Azure. And maybe you could talk us through a bit more on Google's capabilities on the analytics side, or achievements on the analytics side.
Yeah, definitely. So I think when it comes to kind of analytics and the play that we have there, so you might be familiar with our BigQuery offering, which is our fully managed petabyte scale analytics warehouse and querying solution. So, when it comes to analytics, at the heart of of Google, our DNA is, to make sense of the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. So that piece, when it comes to data, we understand that deriving insights and analytics is at the core. And so when it comes to actually, say, building out, say, a data lake or having some sort of, data analytics practice or solution, we do have a lot of, reference architecture solutions. We have over 100 solutions and products within the Google Cloud Suite. But going into, say, for example, a data lake, for example, as a solution, we do have a lot of solutions to help you ingest your data into, say, Google Cloud Storage, and then either through mechanisms like PubSub or Dataflow, you can actually transform that through ETL and then start actually making sense of that. So there's a lot of ways through BigQuery, through Bigtable, a lot of solutions that we have around analytics to help you make sense of the data that you have. And to Steve's point earlier is that once you have that data in a clean state, in a central bucket, what can you do with that data from then on? So can you apply machine learning, intelligence, train that data to actually start having predictions and have that analysis of your consumers, of your customers? So I guess that's a bit of our analytics narrative, but definitely there's a lot of reference architecture and a lot of scoping that we can provide as well and share with the audience.
No, that's fantastic. And look, we know that's one of the strong points. I sort of put you on the spot there. And you said your team went from 40 to how many now? And how many
we're
now?
just shy, I think, of just shy of 400. We've had 100 people join since the start of March, since the start of COVID. So massively grown team. So essentially, 10x since the time that I've joined. And that's our mission to, increase the amount of not just sellers, but engineers, the team locally on the ground.
Wow. So you actually grew in COVID while most of the areas contracted. Well done.
Yeah, it's been an interesting start. Yeah, a lot of the nooglers, though, it's been, and we call it the new starters, we call them nooglers. It's been an interesting start, starting remotely. Not a lot of my coworkers haven't even met someone in person yet. So it's definitely strange and interesting times. But through Google Workspace, through tools like Meet and collaborative Docs, Sheets, Drive, we're able to still feel, connected and collaborative as a team.
Now, I can keep asking questions, but I wanted to encourage the audience, if they had any questions, given that we've got Karen and Steve here on cloud or startups, feel free to put something in, some difficult questions, if you like.
Our audience is quiet today. There's probably so many useful information going that way that they just don't even have anything to ask.
Okay.
So
I'll ask one.
But Eugene have something to ask. Here we go.
Okay, Eugene can ask, and I can ask another one.
Yeah. So I think some of our audience participants, they're actually silent because they're interested in one of the questions we get quite often in terms of since we've gone into this sort of enterprise grade and larger enterprise area, the compliance side, compliance with government standards, especially here onshore in Australia. I know that Karen has already outlined that Google is developing its infrastructure and building up, finalizing the data center near Melbourne. I know there is one or two near Sydney. Just correct me if I'm wrong,
so
Karen.
we have one region in New South Wales, but we have 3 zones. So there's 3 disparate, separate zones, but one region at the moment. So
one of these misconceptions I would say I face when talking to clients on a daily basis that they think that Google hasn't been doing much around that area, but probably you can sort of stress or emphasize what is happening on this compliance side of things, because some of the people, they just like, oh, we've been looking into that area a year ago or a year and a half ago, and GCP was still on their way. So given even the element that you hired a lot of people, engineers, you're developing data centers, probably this kind of overall update on the growth is very crucial, especially the compliance side for potential government clients or larger companies, right?
Yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned in my slides earlier, we have had massive headway, I guess, in the place of compliance. So now being formally compliant with, the Australian privacy principles, APRA, IRAP, all of those things took time. And it actually took us developing our public sector and government team. So as I mentioned, I'm more on like a verticalized team looking after telecommunication, media, and gaming organizations. But we actually have a dedicated public sector government team that works directly with the governments, with statutory bodies to actually help enforce and actually build through these compliance, these accreditation certifications. And we're actively doing this as well. One thing that we know, and a lot of governments were saying, was that we needed to have another region. So that's also been a massive push for our Melbourne region, our second region in Australia, is exactly to that point, is that, for data sovereignty, for backup, DR, all of these areas, that the governments and say certain industries like FSI, healthcare are concerned about is having that second region. So we're hearing what is being said in the community and we're making ourselves more enterprise ready. You might have also seen a lot of the growth in our teams that we are hiring a lot of senior executive directors, security specialists. So we're hiring based on the demands and based on the feedback that we're hearing from our customers. So definitely on the piece of compliance, we are, we can have material workloads currently running, but I think there's just changing that mindset. It's still a lot of the pieces, still that kind of understanding the marketing element is that the information just hasn't gotten out yet. We've been growing at such a fast pace that I think a lot of people just didn't even realize how fast and how quickly Google Cloud is growing locally. So the compliance, all the certifications are there, and we're getting our second region. So a lot of good things to come, and definitely I think that momentum will start to show up in this community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the very great point about that people are pretty much, I think in 2020, everyone's so overwhelmed with a lot of change that they haven't probably been following that. But on my side, I know that I've met a lot of activities. We are members of several organizations on the Fastlane side, and both like private and public sector. And I'm hearing and seeing a lot happening around Google activities out there. So again, I'll take a little bit of Jana's floor and encourage the audience to ask the questions, because you guys ask me these questions on the calls, but now you can ask 5 people at once, right? So it's a great opportunity to just take it.
We actually do have
thanks,
a question.
Okay, it worked.
Wilson is asking, how do you see AWS and Azure playing nicely together?
So I guess, is that a question for me, or?
Who's gonna answer this question?
I think it's a very, tricky question. How we can see them playing nicely together.
No. So I can try and answer it. So look, I do think they will have to play with each other. It's not a question of nicely. So if you think of it this way, Azure is all Microsoft Office based. I mean, that's where all that crowd goes from. And if someone wants to have only one cloud provider and you've already put Office in there, you would do that, right? But then AWS has the first mover advantage. So I do think they will, whether they play nicely with each other or not, they will be there because it's slightly a different segment. So Azure is one segment, if you like. So I don't think there'll ever be a situation where they play nicely or not. I mean, whether it's like Microsoft and Oracle, whether they play nicely with each other is irrelevant. They will both be there, right, for a long time till one wins or the other one loses. No. But that was my answer. I don't expect Karen to answer that one.
I'm happy to jump in a little bit.
Rules, right?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to jump in rather than saying, AWS, Azure, maybe add in GCP as well. But we are seeing, again, more and more of that multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, and clouds are needing to in a sense, in a way, work together in different departments in different ways. So you might have a workload for infrastructure, analytics, machine learning. Like I mentioned, there's different things, and businesses are trying to build out solutions based on the best of breed. So they want to use the best solution for that exact use case. And what we're seeing as well now is that a lot of organizations are needing to have second clouds as a backup option, a DR option. They're not trying to put everything within one cloud. So exactly that, whether it's AWS, Azure, or Azure and GCP, we're seeing more and more that organizations across enterprise, SMB, digital natives, the likes are shifting, not just one cloud, but having multi. So that's what I've seen personally. Happy, maybe Eugene, you've seen something different as well on your side.
Yeah, actually, it brought me to the thought, I heard one of those speeches of Simon Sinek, the famous entrepreneur from the United States, that he was applying it to a different situation, but basically customers are mirroring what's happening in terms of the offering in the market. And if we put it that way, nobody would like to be locked in some technology, because it will, in a way, constrain the business model for your business, whatever business you're doing. So if you're already looking into diversifying your risks, which is a normal thing to do in your business, you would go multi-cloud, and as Karen mentioned, you would apply the best of the breed for whatever part and streams of your workloads, which are relevant. If it's in some way AWS, which is apparently one of the leaders in the market, yeah, that's fine. But then if you go to some of the areas with machine learning, analytics, and other features which are relevant to GCP, that makes sense. If you have some trace of Microsoft suite of products and it makes sense for you to do that, it also makes sense. But what you wouldn't like to do is to be locked in, and we don't like that word, especially in 2020, right?
So I'd probably add just one more thing, and just on the Wilson's point that look, once these comments have come up, that look, AWS and Azure tend to be stay with us and just only us, whereas I think Google's offering is a little bit different to say that look, most people do want to have multi-cloud strategy, and they're quite happy to be the other cloud provider. I just want to bring that up because that is a differentiation. So you're right. So AWS and Azure will probably go a little bit head to head, but yeah, that's a differentiating factor. I just thought I'd bring it up. And thank you, Wilson, for asking that question.
I guess I have a picture relevant to this. I want to ask you guys, if you still with us, we still have about 15 people on the line. So guys, how you actually choose what cloud to use for your business? Are you doing something like this? I don't know. That's probably how I would be choosing that.
Actually, sometimes that's the case. Honestly, because some of the people who make decisions, they're not into technology, or they are not driven by other factors, and that's life. It's not like you have the holistic view all the time.
And would you say Russia most of
Go.
Let Russia to ask Russia.
No. Okay, so I was just going to say, look, it depends on features. So look, I like Karen's answer very much there. It really depends on what you're after. If you're after a strong analytics platform and you want to have that, Google is the answer. If you want high latency and you want to also keep in mind the cost, it is a really strong platform to consider. And like anything, Google's come very strongly late in the game, maybe very strongly into this. But if you wanted, look, you just want to stick with Microsoft Office and Suite, then you're kind of stuck with the one thing there. And if you're already honed in with AWS, it's one of those things. But it depends how open you are to it, right? And you're looking for the right features. And I know if I were to start a business or an existing business, and I'm looking for a new analytics platform, I know where I would look, right? So it's everyone's got its specialty, but it's knowing and being willing to look, and you will save something or get the right platform. Yeah, back to you.
And also, just to add a little bit here, even like large clients of ours in financial industry and other areas, they are not going one cloud strategy anymore. Sometimes it's hybrid, sometimes it's say two scenarios or whatever. But nobody's looking the way just to be being stuck in some one scenario. So that's not the case anymore. But the question was good. It actually raised a lot of interesting discussions. Thanks to the most part of the audience who will get the present or the incentive.
I think Eugene just frozen. Oh well. Thank you, Wilson, for your feedback. So guys, we almost reached 50 minutes of our stream. So it's time to wrap up. And if you have a last question, so it's a time to ask the last question. So if you're still listening and you want to ask something about cloud or hybrid cloud approach, please pop it in the comments. Otherwise, maybe Steve want to ask the final question. You muted, by the way.
I don't have a final question, Jana.
You've been silent.
That's why I decided. I was going to say, I just want to. Basically, what my mind is. I know you guys are talking more technical, right? But just from a business perspective, it's our process. As I said, when March 17th, when I had to tell my team to go home, I literally had zero fear in doing that because there was not one bit of interruption from our service or anything that we provide to our clients. So for me, as Karen mentioned sort of different services, I just cannot think. I was trying to think what my life would be like without Google, and it's like literally at the moment we use the Google suite of products from the communication aspect. We use YouTube for distribution of our communication and also for enhancing our visibility. Obviously, AdWords is a service that we use. Google Chat we found so much more efficient for us instead of Slack, because I don't know if anyone's used Slack, but it just ended up becoming incredibly noisy, whereas it just become a lot more efficient from a work perspective, and also from a site point of view in the development of our product, which is Crisp, is that there was just no issue in having a web-based solution that was also not easy for desktop, easy for mobile, etc. So for me, just on the overall business perspective, it's just made my life so much easier. And so as founders, you know, we've got to solve so many different problems and put out fires and all that sort of stuff that goes on in a normal day. Not having worries about the tech aspect has been a big thing for us.
That's an amazing summary, Steve. I really just wanted to capture all that and pop that, somewhere. But it really is the case, at the end of the day, the core
we have a recording. We have a recording.
Amazing. So we just want to essentially provide a reliable, scalable, like a platform that is there. When you think about services like search and YouTube, if something doesn't load, 99 times out of 10, you're probably thinking something's wrong with my network. You're not thinking that it's Google that's gone down, right? And that's the fact that you're so embedded to think that way just proves and shows our reliability in the ecosystem. So it goes back to my point, is that at the end of the day, we're just trying to be helpful. We're trying to help our customers, whatever the use case is, whatever the situation is, we're trying to be there to provide them with that right solution, that right product to make them the most successful in their environment. So Steve, thank you. You summed it up perfectly.
No problems.
Soft advertising, Steve. Perfect.
Yeah, I was thinking about it whilst you're talking. I thought that is literally my experience. And even now, like we want to scale our marketing aspect. And so just the analytics aspect is just so simple for us. Like the behavior flow of the way people work, it just makes it so much easier to make minor improvements and changes just to improve that effectiveness. So yeah, that's what sort of what I was processing.
Love that.
And to just add on to that, if anyone wants to talk about how to integrate with any cloud, including GCP, please contact us and we'll be helpful in making it happen. Sorry, back to you, Jana, to wrap it up.
Yeah, so let's just wrap it up. We're up to 50 minutes. Healy saying thank you as well for our discussion today. And the most exciting bit of obviously our live stream is a little giveaway. So so we have a little giveaway from Karen. Karen, do you want to just run through what is it?
Yes, so it is a program called STEP. It's essentially known as Strategic Training Enablement Program. So it's a course that was created out of the Australian New Zealand team and has seen much success for a lot of our customers globally. And normally it is a program that's only for a select few individuals. Essentially, it's a 7-week course where you get to go through the basic foundations of Google Cloud, whether that's networking, compute, storage, and it's run by our local customer engineers and professional services team. So you have that dedicated one-on-one time with our engineering team. So I believe, Jana, you're picking the lucky winner of that prize tonight.
Look, I think it's not that hard tonight because we have pretty much two active participants today. So are we happy to give it to two, or I'm pushing?
Yep. No, that's perfect.
So we have Wilson and Healy tonight who've been commenting on our live stream. So I guess we'll just contact them after the stream and you can enroll them to the STEP program.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Congratulations, guys. So make sure you connect with Karen on LinkedIn as well. So Karen, actually, what's the best ways to connect with you?
Easiest way would be to find me on LinkedIn. If not, Jana, if you want to send an email out to the Fastlane team, and they can route that across to me as well.
Yep, and guys, the Fastlane email is just on the screen here, hello@fastlaneit.com. So if you want to connect with Fastlane team, you can find them here. And obviously the Fastlane website is fastlaneit.com, so you can also have a look at the services there. Healy is happy. Here we go. And guys, just before we wrap it up and we have a few last words from our speakers, I just want to let you know that we here in the Fastlane wanted to bring different experts from the industry every month. And next month, our speaker will be Enzo and from Nuix, and we're going to talk about how to accelerate your legal business with the smart e-discovery solution. So e-discovery is a challenging process for even the most experienced law firms and corporations. So make sure if you want to quickly and easily find the ways to find the data online, make sure to join us in the first Thursday of November. So 5th of November, 5:30 p.m. on Fastlane YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe, of course, and hit this like button. and put the notification bell and all this, you know the drill. But you can also register for this event on Eventbrite, so you can get the notifications through the emails. So make sure, and also guys, if you're listening to us tonight, make sure you let us know what sort of topics you would like to discuss in our future live streams, because it all depends of you, whatever you would be interested to listen or whatever experts you want us to bring. So you can always email us. I'll bring this email again, hello@fastlane.it, and let us know if you wanna bring particular speaker for the live stream as well. So guys, I guess just to wrap it up, maybe everyone just give a few words to the audience, just to, I don't know, just to cheer them up. Karen.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the invitation to this. I love hearing the questions and just engaging as well. Particularly, I guess, even just the conversations with Steve as well. It's always intriguing for me to hear back what the audience and what the community is thinking about Google Cloud as well. And really great to share this opportunity, with you all and share a bit more about Google Cloud. So if you have any questions as well, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or, as I mentioned, through Fastlane.
Thank you. Steve?
I'll just say thanks for the reminder of how much my business relies on Google Cloud. That was actually really helpful for me. But just all I'd say is just if there's participants in there that are in that sort of growth phase, the area of capital raising is an interesting one, and I think that there's a lot of sort of misinformation about the process. And all I would just say as a sort of final note is if companies are raising, if they are growing, then it's really looking at their process and looking at the way they do it and how they can actually use analytics and how they can actually use software to actually do it makes a massive difference, because all of a sudden you can actually be in control of the process yourself and not hand over confidence to other people. And for me, I love the idea of empowering founders to be in control of a process and to learn a process themselves.
Thank you.
Look, thank you very much, all. It was an interesting discussion we had. And look, if anyone wants to connect into the cloud, please contact us and we'll be more than happy to make it happen. Thank you very much.
Since everyone already advertised whatever is possible here, I'll just thanks to the audience, which is on our meeting tonight, and it all ultimately comes to to great minds colliding and meeting and human element out there. Basically, the Steve's example and Karen's description and whatever experience we have from our consulting daily business is that thinking outside of the box is important, and technology is just a baseline to support that. And we're always happy to, as Jana mentioned, to support all the market feedback and drive new type of discussions, like the next one about particular legal business and how technology can support that. But yeah, feel free to reach out to Fastlane and all the people on the live stream tonight. We're all traceable on LinkedIn, and you had the contacts as well. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for all your time tonight. Thank you for those who watch us for a whole hour tonight. Thank you for your questions. And we hope to see you on the 5th of November. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jana.
Thanks, everyone.